Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you
We love casting spells.
the Grimoire has arrived with the new Whispers in the Wars update. Now this book is, well, a dash of copium, a dash of happiness, and a dash of magic. I really wanted this new weapon type to be overpowered, but sadly we can't all have nice things. Although with my testing, I have made it somewhat work and really fun to play with, so let's get to it, shall we? And of course, a huge thank you to our channel members for your support. I have just done a video on Corvix, the brand new Warframe. If you'd like to check that out, I will put it in the cards in the top right and a link in the description. The Grimoire is obtained when you complete the new Whispers in the Walls quest. No spoilers, just finish it and you'll receive it during the quest. It is a spellbook that has infinite ammo. It has a single fire mode that shoots out a projectile with a little bit of an AoE explosion. And then it has an incarnate form, so to speak. You can charge this bar by simply just hitting them. Normally you would have to charge your incarnate bars through a headshot. Not with the Grimoire, you can literally just hit them normally and you'll see it starts to charge. Once it is full, you can use the alternate fire, which releases this orb that moves really slowly and applies electrical procs on enemies. These are force electric procs. It's actually relatively easy to stack this bar up, especially with more fire rate. This weapon desperately needs fire rate. It is atrocious. It is the only way to make this weapon fun, and I'll be honest, without fire rate, I don't think this weapon is that great at all. The faster your fire rate is, the faster you charge your bar. We also have a brand new type of mod called tome mods. They are split up into two, Canticle and Invocation. Canticle are Exodus mods that are support mods, and Invocation are mods that directly buff your frames through the alternate fire. Fast gives your allies faster shield regen and lowers the shield delay for 15 seconds. Jahu reduces the amount of armor and shields of enemies by 5% per kill. This is within affinity range, which is quite large. It's a large radius to be fair, but you will need to kill 20 enemies to full armor strip, so this is entirely situational here. You will need to have the Grimoire equipped for this to work and kill with the Grimoire. Kra gives you 12% chance for an enemy to drop a universal orb on death. This is actually pretty good for energy sustain if you're using the Grimoire. And for the last one for the Canticle tome mods, we have Lock, which gives allies within affinity range 30% fire rate for 15 seconds upon killing an enemy. Now let's move on to Invocations. Netra Invocation states on alternate fire it increases ability efficiency by 4% for 20 seconds for every enemy hit and stacks up 15 times. So that is literally an extra 60% ability efficiency, which is pretty good if you are killing with the Grimoire. Voam and Wrist do the exact same thing, but Voam gives you strength and Wrist is duration. So to have an extra 60% on one of your stats is really good if you are running a utility build. Zata Invocation gives you energy regen for 20 seconds and stacks up 10 times, so that's 10 energy per second. That is the tome mods out of the way. Before we go any further, if you could leave a like on this video, it would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. The Grimoire has terrible fire rate, and in order for this weapon to do really any significant damage, you need to have a lot of fire rate, and pairing it with the right elements as well. I have opted to use corrosive heat, and it works pretty damn well. So when you are building for the Grimoire, consider using Gunslinger, Anemic Agility, or Lethal Torrent for the mods. And another thing you could use, which is what I opted for, is the Arcane Velocity, which gives you a hefty 120% fire rate boost, which is insane. For Corrosive, I went the two 60/60 mods, Pistol Pestilence and Jolt, and then primed Heated Charge for the endgame builds. When it comes to the new tome mods, the only one I used is Kra Canticle for those extra orb drops. That is the only one out of all of them that I see to be pretty useful in my opinion. The others are kind of niche in a sense. When it comes to the Invocation mods, you can swap out your build for any one of those to provide more utility if you so desire. Personally, I didn't use any Invocation because I think that this weapon without a full setup lacks damage. So unless you have external buffing of damage and you can maybe sacrifice a mod, then go for an Invocation mod. For the later game builds, this is the setup that I ran. Because we are running Heat, Cascadia Flare's damage boost is just too big to miss out on. Then we have the endgame build with Galvanized Shot, which by the way scales actually very well with the Grimoire. but only with the single projectile and not the AoE. So it's good for single target, and you're gonna lack slightly on the more AoE and clearing. That is, of course, if you really want to use the spellbook to kill tougher enemies like Thraxes and Demolishers, but that's up to you. For the beginners, all you need is 5 mods. Fire rate is the most important to make this weapon somewhat fun to use. For the mid-game Star Chart players, here is the build for you. And then for early Steel Path players, this is a build that I've made for you guys as well. If you have the primed version of any of these mods, then use those. It's pretty straightforward on how to be a wizard. Just use your projectile, stack it up. Every time you see that the bar is full, cast alternate fire, and then just rinse and repeat. But now, if you want to unleash the full wizardry, we need much more fire rate. And I present to you Gauss. This weapon has infinite ammo, so you can just stack an insane amount of fire rate from his 4th ability, plus you have fire rate from Arcane Velocity as well. With all this boosting, you get the following. Gauss makes this weapon insanely satisfying. We can also subsume over his 3rd ability for something like Nourish, Roar, or an armor stripping ability to make this weapon melt enemies. Another thing that I tested out is Mace's 1st ability, Ballistic Battery, actually does an insane amount of damage when it comes to the alternate fire. I've tried this weapon in the new game modes, I've tried this weapon in mod survival, and I've also tried this weapon against Thraxes, and honestly, it doesn't do too bad. I thought it would be worse, but then again, I am running a mag with Nourish plus her 2nd ability and armor strippings, so anything really can shred in that regard then, but still, I was expecting the Grimoire to be worse. Overall, when it comes to my final thoughts on the Grimoire, it's a different weapon with a slightly slower playstyle, but I still like this type of weapon. I think it's fun, it's unique, and allows for some cool synergies. I hope DE brings out more weapons like this. It would be really interesting to see, and I'm excited to try more synergies later on, but I think I'm still going to use this just as a fun copium weapon and hoping that it does get better somehow. But I don't think that it is overpowered in any way. I think it's just a okay to good weapon. That's it. Nothing more than good or decent to some extent, you know. But overall, that's my thoughts on the Grimoire. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I really hope DE somehow buffs this weapon and makes it insanely strong. But the one thing that you need to remember is if you want to enjoy this weapon, you need fire rate badly. And that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I will see you all in the next one for a Tenno Kyaii review.